Hi guys, this week we're going to talk about why formula can be harmful to your writing. Let's get started. Okay, why formula can be harmful to your writing? Well, people talk about the rules of screenwriting. Well, I'm just going to do this real quickly. Rules don't exist, there's only commonalities. And here's a quick thing to show you. Here's the definition for rules. Okay, see, they're control. And the other thing about rules is that there is punishment if you don't follow them, like you try to break the rules of the road. Now here's commonalities. Okay, see how commonalities are more about film writing in a way. There are a set of things that are common to people, common to things. And most stories will have a common structure. That does not make them rules. And here's how you can prove that they're not rules. There's this thing called the scientific method. This is going to sound boring, but things are falsifiable. And if you can try to, that's when they do peer reviews. If they try to prove your statement as being false, if with every experiment they throw at it, when they do a peer review in science, they don't redo your experiment and go, bugger me, you're right. Look at that, I did exactly the same thing as him and got the same result. No, they go, what result did you get? I'm going to try to break it. They attack your method. They attack the way you do it. They'll run experiments counter to what you're doing to try to prove you wrong. If they cannot falsify your work, if it's unfalsifiable, then it becomes like a law, a rule, a theory as they call it, like the theory of evolution or the theory of gravity. These aren't rules or laws because one day they may be proven falsifiable. But for now, a theory is the highest rank you can get in science. So we can easily falsify the screenwriting rules because everyone has these. Everyone will tell this to you when you say, well, what about Pulp Fiction? That's non-linear. That doesn't have these beats happening on that page and a backflip here and the enemy closes it on page 75. And then they go, oh yeah, okay, sorry. Once you know the rules, you can break them. Or once you're famous, you can break the rules. Could you imagine how ridiculous that is? Someone's reading a screenplay and goes, oh, this is amazing, this is fantastic. It's non-linear, the protagonist changes. Oh, it's so compelling, I can't put it down, it's fantastic. Let me check IMDb. No, see, it's his first film. No, he's not famous enough to break the rules. Sorry.
I find that stupid.
It defies logic. It's not sensible. There is commonalities. And if you watch films, you'll begin to see some of the commonalities. I watched Army of Thieves, which is the prequel to Army of the Dead, I think, the Zack film by Zack. It's terrible, don't worry. Army of the Dead, good fun film, zombie movie in Vegas. This is the prequel to this of how they find the thief. It's called The King of Thieves. The Army of Thieves. You watch it, it's really good, it's good fun, and park your head at the door. Right at the end, I went, oh, it's winding up. I know what's going to happen now. So, spoiler alert. If you want to watch the film, don't watch the rest of this video. But right at the end, you go, oh, okay. That means the cop's going to turn up now because this would be where the bad guys close in. This is the last challenge. They've won everything. They think they're doing well. This is the returning with the elixir part of the hero's journey or save the cat or one of those. So now they have to do one last struggle and then they'll be happy at the end. Okay, and sure enough, bang, it happened. The cops turned up and all this sort of stuff. And it was so obvious that they'd gotten away. They'd driven forever. The cops must have teleported to get there. It was ridiculous how fast the cops caught up. And the only reason the cops caught up like that was because someone there has gone, oh, we really should have one of these things at the end, the dénouement. We've got to have one of those rules in there. And it sort of broke it for me. There could have been a more interesting way of doing it. They could have seeded something in the opening scene that showed that she was actually going to turn her back on him, and she did that at the end. And it still would have fed into the Army of the Dead perfectly well. But this is when formula can hurt. I'm sitting there going, this is going to happen. I said to my wife, I knew that was going to happen. She goes, so did I. And she's not a screenwriter. She's ex-law enforcement. She's an ex-federal agent. She's not a screenwriter at all. But it became obvious. So that's how formula can hurt you. And now I've told you that formulas don't exist. Yeah, some people say they're good to learn to read, to get your feet on the ground. I'm not going to cut you free. I'm not going to sort of say, they're useless, go off and... No, here's some basics for your screenwriting journey that if you want to Think about these when you watch film. Watch film and analyse film. Watch great films. Watch the sort of films you want to make. You've got to immerse yourself in film, and you're going to be one of two people. There's a point here where you hit it, and if you immerse yourself in lots and lots of film. I was raised by a single mum. When I used to get to see my dad, the one thing he used to do, he used to go to bed Friday night, and one of our local television stations would run 24-hour films. And when he got up Saturday morning, he would still find me sitting in the lounge with a blanket, and that was okay, because that was the little thing that he got to do as a cool dad that mum wouldn't let me do. So I'd watch 24 hours of films. From Friday when he picked me up, all day Saturday stuff, he'd be doing stuff, running around mowing lawns, whatever he wanted to do. And he'd let me do that. I did that all the time. And the other thing he'd do, because I couldn't read, he used to take me to the movies a lot. So I've been immersed in movies. Now, there was that point where I could have gone two ways, into film loving and maybe wrote a blog or become a film critic or worked on film sets or whatever. Or the other side of film loving is wanting to create them, to be a writer. So if we're going to assume you've already immersed yourself in film, not that you've got a casual interest, that you've got a love for film, that when people say, what are the 3 albums you want to take to on a desert island, you say, well, can I have a DVD player and 3 movies instead? So you're that sort of person. We're going to assume that, and now we're going to assume you're going down the writing path. Okay, so here's the thing. So I haven't broken any security that you felt that you've had in formula. Here's some stuff.
This whole class is going to feel my wrath.
Movies are about people. Even if they're about cars or a talking refrigerator, it'll take on human... Pixar does this. It'll take on human attributes. So they're about people. And they're about the struggle of people. And struggles come in 3 formulas, or 3 formulas. It's a person versus a person. Protagonist, antagonist. Person versus an environment, nature. The legal system, some amorphous thing that it isn't a person, and that's person versus world, right? Or there's a person versus self, where the world isn't really against them, they're against themselves. They keep undermining themselves, they keep stabbing themselves, they can't stop, and they're trying to grow out of that. All their struggles are internal. So there's the 3 basic sorts of struggles. Okay, so when you watch a film, you say, is he really battling against himself, or is he battling against this person, or is he battling against the system? So now you can begin to say, okay, now if you're battling against the system, what sort of things are going to be in those sorts of films? Do I enjoy those sorts of films? And you begin to analyse. Okay. Stories need to be conflict driven. Even if you and I walk into a hamburger shop and I want a hamburger and you want some chips, and the only conflict there is who's going to be served first. But if the guy's about to close and he's the last shop open in our town, so there's no other opportunity for us to get a burger, and there's one burger left, now there's conflict because we both want the same thing. If we're going to make it a man versus world, it could be that burgers have been outlawed and we're trying to come up with a way of selling burgers underground. So now it's us against this system of anti-burgerism. Or if it's us against self, I'm working out these days, but I've got a weight problem, say, and I'm addicted to meat, so I can't stop eating burgers, even though I'm a vegetarian now. That's me fighting against my addiction to burgers. So it'd be me against self. So the story has to be conflict-driven, and it's going to be one of those conflicts. And the conflict can be small, but it can be big. And the flaws that you give your character should also relate to the conflict. It's no good this person having anger issues when his anger has nothing to do with his conflict. A conflict should undermine his ability to reach his goals, and a goal should directly relate to the conflict that's in front of him. So those are the things that will flow together, and you can unpick those into stories. And you can throw obstacles at people, and you can see most stories will have that. Even if you look at Hell or High Water, there is that conflict of them against the system, against the banking system. The 2 brothers, this isn't a spoiler, the movie's been out for a long time, you should see it. They're robbing banks to repay the bank. And they want to repay the bank so they get the mortgage back from their mum's estate. Once they have the land rights, they can then sell the land rights to an oil company, which is going to go to his son forever. So they're doing this thing. So they're doing bad things. And we, as people, want to see justice. So there has to be some debt to pay here. The thieves can't get away scot-free. Sometimes we like to say, well, they're doing it against a bad person. And they do make the banks a bit of a villain in this by saying, well, they're shutting down farms, they're doing mortgages to farmers that can never be repaid. And even in the diner scene, one of the old farmers basically says, you want us to help you catch the guys that are robbing the banks that have been ripping off us for years. That's not going to happen. So, but they still have to repay, they still have to pay a bit. So of course one of them's going to die. and the other guy's left with the guilt of the death of his brother, even though he's won in the end and against the banks. But people know it was sort of him. So he's got, he's won, but he hasn't won at the end. And that balances our sense of justice as film goers. But there's your basics, okay? It needs to be about people. It needs to be a conflict. The conflict has to play into their goals, has to be the thing against their goal. Any flaws you give them has to be in a hindrance to stop them reaching their goals. The one I really love is giving them a flaw that they don't see, and it's undermining them as well as making them make bad decisions. But that's it, guys. There's no such thing as rules. There's commonalities, and once you learn how to analyze story, it's the best thing. You'll also be able to analyze your own stories. So you won't have to do the thing, I'm going to pay someone to give me notes. You'll be able to give yourself notes, which is the most important skill you can possibly get as a screenwriter, self-assessment. Thank you for everyone who's been doing these things. It's been really good. If you give it a thumbs up, YouTube will show you more of my stuff, but also show you more of writers' stuff, more story, more film. It'll show you stuff in this world. You can get the t-shirt. There's links below for books, t-shirts, anything you want to do. You do get 20% off Writer Duet. I get nothing from that. I've actually told Writer Duet if they ever start a program where they're going to pay me, they have to give all the money that I'm supposed to get to a children's hospital here, Canada, I don't care where. I have enough money. I don't need money from this. That discount is just for you guys. And until next time, keep writing. Bye.